back at this film, obviously you guys didn't have all the time in the world to prepare the way you wanted to for week one. What do you take? What's your biggest takeaway looking at the film from this game at North Carolina?
A lot of self-mistakes. A lot of times we shot our own selves in the foot. And, that's a good football team. We all know it's a good football team, and we knew we had to really do things right to win down there in that situation. But I thought that for 3 quarters it was a heck of a football game. We just left too much meat on the bone, not only offensively, but the one touchdown that we gave back in special teams.
And what needs to change specifically in the fourth quarter to make sure the guys can pull out a win next time?
Well, the first thing is to make sure that you got enough points that there's going to be a fourth quarter. I just thought that the defense was out there too long. They were playing extremely well, and let's give them something to play for. Let's get some points on our side of the scoreboard and make sure that it's a contest.
Thanks, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Matt. Next, we'll go to Adam Hillman from the Daily Orange.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good. So I want to talk about a little bit about Chris. Got his first starting guard on Saturday. What did you think about his performance, and what do you hope he can take forward to next week?
No, interesting. I thought he was one of our best performers. For someone to play that position at that level versus the defensive lineman that he was playing at, he played extremely well. He's one of the guys that I thought played winning football for sure. And we're excited about his first outing, and we expect him to be twice as good next time.
Mm-hmm. The run game, last week kind of struggled a bit against UNC. Against Pittsburgh, what adjustments can you make to get the run game going?
Well, first of all, we need to have everybody look at themselves honestly with the corrections that's going on. Most football teams, they really, really change the way they look from their first game to the second. When you get to play somebody, you get a chance to look at yourself on tape, not someone else, and be able to openly receive the information that you need to make yourself better. There's normally a drastic jump from week 1 to week 2.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Darius Joshua from Channel 9.
How are you doing there, Coach? Kind of following up on that with the run game and overall. You talked about Chris Elmore, but kind of the overall offensive line. What did you see kind of in the run game and in protection of Tom Davis?
The first thing is we got to win the battle on the line of scrimmage. There was too much penetration on a lot of the things that we were doing in the backfield. There were some holes out there, and sometimes we hit them, sometimes we didn't. But the main thing is those guys up front, we've got to win our side of the line of scrimmage. And then we've got to make good decisions with the football when we're going to throw the football, and we left some plays out there. We got to make some of those plays to take the heat off of them.
And when you look at UNC, they had a pretty good front, and obviously Pittsburgh has a pretty good front.
They had a better than a PG front. North Carolina's front's better than a PG, and last time I heard, the media told me that Pitt had maybe the best front outside of Clemson in the whole conference. So let's call it what it is. You guys know football, okay? It's not a PG front. It's better than that. Let's go. With
that said, what sort of challenge this is for a line where you have a fullback / tight end now playing guard, and sort of the challenge that they face now, having these two lines back to back in week 1 and week 2.
Okay, let's get something straight here with Chris Elmore. Okay, he has played fullback, tailback, and tight end. When you talk about him playing a guard, it's not like the guy is 225 pounds. He's 285 pounds. He's one of the strongest guys on the team, and I guarantee you, Darius, you wouldn't call his mom a dirty name in a bar. The guy is a fighter. If you watch the tape, okay, he's competing with very, very big people, and he's doing extremely well, okay? Don't underestimate a person just because they're not tall, that they don't have heart, they can't fight, and they can't bring a big thing down, okay? Chris is just fine in there. There's a reason why he's got a nickname that's called the Rhino, okay? Rhino is fine. He's not some little guy trying to play in a big man's world. He's a big guy. Now, what's your question?
With that, I was just saying that maybe not the player you intended to play on the line necessarily, but overall, just what is the challenge of the line facing these two fronts back-to-back in week 1 and week 2?
I think it's a good test. First of all, when you play North Carolina and how active their linebackers, I believe, are 4-3 and 4-4. Those guys can flat go, and their down linemen are very, very skilled. Now you're coming back and you're probably playing like you guys said, outside of Clemson, maybe the next best defensive line in the conference. So I think it's really a good test to find out exactly where we're at. And it's not going to get any easier. And no one's going to allow you to say no mas, no mas. We don't do that in football. Okay, we don't do that in football. We're going to line up and we're going to play. And we'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Coach. I would never speak badly about anybody's mom.
Okay, thank you. I know you're not. I like you. You're one of those good guys. Stop using PG.
Next, we'll go to Mark Larson from Spectrum.
A fact to follow. Hey, Coach. I want to talk about Tommy and what are the biggest reasons that he wasn't able to be more productive, and how much concern do you have about him?
You know what? I think the big thing is we need to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. I know we dropped the ball in the end zone. We had some drops out there. I believe the receiver coaches told me we had 4 drops for the game. That may not be accurate. We have to go back and check them. But you need to throw the ball. You need the O-line on point. You need the quarterback on point. You need the receivers on point. And you can't have one thing being good and the other 2 being bad. So you got to find a way to get them all together. We're going to get another opportunity to go out there and doing it, and we're going to have another opportunity to do it with a team that can rush the passer with 4, or they can bring 5, or they can bring 6. And they got guys that can that can cover. So that being said, okay, it's going to be an interesting contest in the throw game. And it's going to be something that we need to do. They load the box. They want to stop the run. So you're going to have opportunities to throw the ball down the field, and you're going to need to capitalize on it.
Is Tommy, is he on a good track? Did you see him developing? He looked hesitant a little bit, and I don't know if that's my take on it. What's your take on where he is?
I think that everybody improves greatly from their first game to their second game. He has not had a scrimmage or a game since the Boston College game last year, okay? He got a certain amount of plays in August. We had nothing in March, and I think that this throwing game is the thing that gets left behind because they didn't have an opportunity with the pod situation to practice the way they normally do in the summer. So I think they're going to be much better this game out.
Thanks, Dino.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we're going to go to Brent Axe.
Morning, Coach. I was wondering, kind of a specific question to a specific position, but in reviewing the film, why do you think it turned out that the tight end position only got targeted once in this game?
Mainly because we ran a lot of formations with 4 wide receivers. We thought we had some better things going on. I'm not sure how many times they were actually out there on the football field doing the things that they do, but different defense this week, different structure. Maybe a different, better chance for different opportunities.
And a follow-up to that, kind of what you were saying on the prior question, but did you see anything on the field in this game that was noticeable in terms of a lack of practice time that you usually get going into a first game?
Anytime you have drops, okay, that's unusual. Routes, there was times where we didn't get some of our signals and the routes weren't completely completed. But those are all mistakes that happen when you don't scrimmage enough and when you don't get your game time in. I would expect it to be drastically improved going into this game.
Thank you, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we'll go to John Kikis from the AP.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
What happened on Andre's kick, the short kick that he missed? Was that a bad snap, a bad hold, timing? Was that any effect from the lack of practice?
You know, with Andre, I was talking to him the other day. Is this his second year or third year? I can't remember. He's only been here 2 years. Is this third?
Third, yeah.
It's his third year, and I want to say that his kicking percentage is somewhere around 87% for his career. Watch this. I know it was like 86, 87 before he went into the game, and he was 2 out of 3. So I don't know how that affects the percentage. But before he went in, he was 86 or 87%. So to get back to your question, when Andre misses, I really don't say that much to him because he really doesn't miss that much.
But do you think it was anything with timing or lack of practice or anything like that related to the virus?
No, Andre's good. He's been making all his kicks in practice with all that stuff going on, And the kick was more like a practice kick than a game kick with nobody in the stands. So I wouldn't say that. I just think that, just like there's a blue moon, every once in a while in a month you get 2 of them. I just think every blue moon, Andre misses a kick, but his percentage is extremely high.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Next we go to Stephen Bailey from Syracuse.
Hey, Dino, I wanted to zoom out and ask you about the offense a little bit. You've said that every coaching staff is going to learn about its teams. It's their team in the first 3 weeks. What did you learn about your offense in week 1, and how can you and Sterling take that and factor it into how you prepare for Pitt?
We've got for one more game, we've got to really give these guys a chance. Sometimes things are just happening. Okay, so there were some things that happened. We are going to go back and we're going to be steady on what we're doing, and now we've got to find out and make sure that it's not something that's going to be consistent, whether that's something good or whether that is something bad. So these young men are going to get another opportunity to go out there and do what they do, and we're going to keep an open mind and let them paint a portrait of what we're going to have a picture of what they're going to be. And then based off of that, we're going to start putting that thing together after we get done with this game.
Okay. Thanks, Dino.
Mm-hmm.
Next we go to Nico Tamarian from CNY Central.
Hey, Coach. Appreciate your time as always. I wanted to ask, a couple days since digesting film and all that stuff, how are you feeling? Is it more of an optimism of, okay, we left, as you said, a lot of meat on the bones and there is a lot of, missed opportunities, or is it more, okay, we've got a lot to clean up, or is it a little bit of both? I guess, overall question, which side of that spectrum are you on this morning?
You know what? I'm glad to be able to look at something and go, okay, he may be able to do this, or I'm not quite sure he can do this. But they've got a base foundation of work. We're going to go through another week of practice, and then by the second game, there's going to be some tendencies that are going to be developed in these individuals, and based off those tendencies, we're going to have to make some decisions. I said a long time ago before this started that we're going to play a lot of people. The experienced guys are going to get the first go at it because they know what to do, but they need to produce. And if they don't produce, then the younger guys who are talented, the only thing that they lack is experience and strength. Okay, some of them are just not as strong as they need to be, but then that's when they're going to get their opportunities, and nothing has changed. That's the way we've always done it. So we're going to get another game versus a really good opponent. And, North Carolina game was a physical game. We got some guys banged up. Steven, you should have asked me. I wouldn't have told you anyway. But that, we've got some guys that are, they're going to affect their practice time. Now, based off of the game that Pittsburgh played, I'm sure that they may not have as many of those. But the one thing that we did is we got to play in a big-time ACC football game versus ACC competition. That's an advantage, and we got to use that advantage in this week's game.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
We've got time for 2 more. We'll start with Dan Tortora.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well. To get a game under your belt and be one of those conferences that has the opportunity to play, just what that meant to you, despite the loss, that you even have a season right now, currently.
It was, I was sitting out there talking to one of the officials, and they made a call, and of course, they thought it was good, but it wasn't. And I told him I'd turn it in, and if he's listening, I did. And I'm really good at when I turn those calls in. I mean, it's way over 90% because I don't nitpick. I really make sure. I won't even let the coaches turn the stuff in because a lot of times I'm like, we're not turning that in. I want to win. I want to make sure they say they were wrong. But getting back to it, I was talking to the official. I said, you know what? Even though that's a bad call, I'm glad we're out here. And I said, I'm sure you're glad you're out here working because there's some Big Ten officials that are standing around watching us work right now, and they wish they were as lucky as both of us. And so excited that we've got to kick this thing off, so excited that the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12, along with the other conferences underneath us, has got an opportunity to do this. And, we don't know if we're going to get an opportunity to do the whole 11, but, God's will, we will. And we'll just see and take it 1 week at a time. But it was great, and it was fun to be out there with the guys, and not only to play football, but to come back safely with our crew to get ready for another contest.
And then as far as the defensive side, the D-line, as well as the linebackers in the secondary, making plays all the way through. despite the loss, what did the defense show you as a whole as they step into their next game?
You know, I think we should be optimistic about our defense. Now, again, I will say this. They really didn't quite know what we were going to do, and everybody else gets an opportunity to take a really good look at not only our defense, not only our offense, which some people are down on, but also our special teams. And like we're looking at Pitt this week, and you know, you can only look at one half of their game before the game was over. And I'm sure they didn't show a lot of what they're going to do versus that opponent. And once again, we're kind of waiting for the game to happen to see exactly what they're going to do with somebody with our talent level. Okay, so it'll be a little bit of a wait and see thing again. But when this is all said and done, we get our second game in this season, I think we're going to know a lot more about our football team, and then we'll be able to decide which way we're going to go with it.
Thanks, Dino.
Thank you.
And last question will go to Danny Emmerman from the Daily Orange.
Hey, Dino. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
My question is, I suppose after this abbreviated offseason and with so many new or inexperienced players at some different positions, how limited is the playbook on either side of the ball?
You know, you have to grow. There's no doubt you have to grow. It's smaller. But as the season goes, then the books grow. And there's a mental part of this game as well. You know, someone used to say, oh, he's nothing but a dumb football player. I'm like, if you've ever seen what they got, there's no such thing as a dumb football player. Okay, those guys have to learn a lot to be out there. And not only do they have to answer the question right, but they have to answer the question with that much time right. Now, they don't get them right all the time. None of us do. But they better get them right most of the time if we're standing out there watching them. So there's the playbook will grow. It's a little bit smaller, but that's okay. We've got enough in to do the things that we need to do. It comes down to execution on offense, defense, and special teams, and minimizing your mistakes. If you minimize your mistakes and you capitalize on what you're good at and do it well, then in most football games, unless you're playing a very superior opponent, you're going to be in that game for a while, and then you got to see which way the ball bounces. So, you know, is the playbooks a little bit smaller? Yeah, but that's not a negative or positive. The book will get bigger as we move along, but we got more than enough of it in right now to do the things that we need to do on the people we're playing.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.
That concludes today's press conference, Coach. We appreciate your time. We'll see everybody tomorrow night for player interviews. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.